Well, welcome back to our latest series, Getting Through the Eye of the Needle. It takes me a couple of days to kind of think through what would be the next, logical step to take in this series. There's a lot to be said about walking in faith and business at the same time, the tension between the two, as I've mentioned in the prior videos. And today I want to talk to you about a very, very key aspect about business itself, which is value is perceived. Perceived means I value something different than you value something. And I've got a very good biblical example of that. Remember what the bottom line of this series is how to get through the eye of the needle is not a criticism on people with means, wealth, riches. It is, how do I get through the eye of the needle? How do I, walk with God and behave in a way that is holy and acceptable, but also create through the gifts that I have as an entrepreneurial person a tide that floats all boats. So really, it's a gardener versus kind of like the top guy. I'm going to be the top guy, even though the world teaches in business, you've got to be the top guy. But the problem is the minute you win the championship belt, you put a target on your back and everybody's going to come after you to try to prove themselves, right? So how do I behave in life where I have a rewarding experience in business and faith at the same time, and know that I am fulfilling God's purpose in my life? So I'm going through this series to teach concepts about how the Bible can teach us regarding trust and stewardship. I believe that godly people in business are stewards of something larger than just the month end, than just the hourly wages. And then, there's so much more to be discussed about being a person of faith in business than just dollars and cents and are you generous. So today I want to talk to you about value is perceived. And a couple of years ago, I started an Endeavour Network YouTube channel. I'm going to leave some links below, specifically a series that I did called the Merchant's Mandate. 5 things that are a merchant's mandate. I'll leave the links in the description below. You can check them out. And it's more of a business side conversation meant to encourage you. It's not meant to show you how brilliant this guy is. It's meant as an encouragement. I want to help you find your confidence in business, and yet, engage in faith, but yet still understand that there are things in business that are still have to be approached in a practical, logical, even pragmatic kind of approach. But I want you to know that God is with you in this. So we have a responsibility to keep the boat afloat because there are many people on the boat that depend on our leadership. Okay, so if I've made that point clear, I want to take you to Genesis. Let's see, 25, Genesis 25. And this is a remarkable sort of story. It says a lot in a little. Remember, the theme is today, value is perceived. So here it is, verse 29. Once when Jacob was cooking some stew, and you know exactly where I'm going with this, Esau came in from the open country famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I am famished." Jacob replied, "First, sell me your birthright." "Look, I am about to die," says Esau. "What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and he drank, and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. Okay, so we have a theological explanation for all this super spiritual kind of stuff, and I'm not being derogatory there. But here's the practical side of this exchange. And if you understand doing business and doing it in the, through the scriptural sort of view, This here is a primary example of value being perceived, right? Now, there's some other issues here that might actually create the construction of the error of Esau's decision, which we'll get into. But value is perceived means that, again, as I mentioned, I may look at something and say, that is worth $1 to me. And the reason why it may be worth $1 to me is because I don't see high relevance and how it's going to affect my life, my situation. Is it going to make my life easier? Is it going to provide greater value? Am I getting a really good deal? And then somebody may come along and say, that issue, that thing is worth $10 to me. It's worth $10 to that other person because they have greater need for it. Maybe they have an urgency upon it that I currently don't. I see it as $1, they see it as $10. Maybe they've got a greater application for it. So it really will help in a situation that they're dealing with, or a circumstance that they have, that item, that thing, has a greater application. So there's different means, or I shouldn't say means, there's different reasons why people would value something more than another would. So keep that in mind. Coming back to the scripture here, Jacob, obviously, I don't say everybody, but people will generally characterize him as a bit of a shyster. I don't think so. I think a little bit differently about Jacob, and one day I'll do a character study on him, because I really like the life of this man. Because think about him the way you want, but remember, it was at the end of the story, God chose him to be the patriarch of the 12 tribes of Israel. So there's value in imperfect things here. There's value in imperfect people. And God has a value perceived upon you and I. Anyway, I'll leave that aside. So come back to this. Jacob replied, sell me your birthright. So Esau, obviously in his response, quick, let me have some red stew. He was thinking with his stomach. So it's easy to interpret that this man was thinking only in the flesh, the carnal, the satisfy my body, and that'll satisfy my life, right? So I can only conclude that would be very short-sighted. And people that understand the trade of value are not short-sighted. Okay, they have a tendency to look down the path, and they can see 2-3 steps beyond the average Joe. Okay, so they have a plan, or they execute strategy, or they have a good instinct, or they can prophetically see things that you and I may not see things. They're intuitive, right? So coming back to Esau and Jacob, Esau in verse 29 is basically thinking with his body, his flesh, his carnality, his immediate need, and thus I can only conclude short-sightedness. The blinders are on. All I can see is this, right? Whereas people that tend to understand the trade of value, they can look 2-3 steps down the path, and they can see things and strategize and predict, or, using intuition or using gut instinct, they can see beyond the moment. And I think that's an important thing to take away from today. So then he says, sell me your birthright, Jacob says. And then Esau replies, I'm about to die. I'm only in the moment. And Jacob says, swear to me first. Remember what we talked about in the last video about covenant, about contract. Jacob is laying out the boundary, the benefits, the boundaries, and the terms of the contract. I'll give you this stuff if you swear to me first. So Esau, in his lack of wisdom, he basically sells his birthright for bread and soup, right? And then he got up and left. He wasn't even thinking anything more about it. Now, you may think, well, why would he have to think any more about it? It's just a conversation between brothers. It's not that important. I know what's coming to me. I know that it's guaranteed. Nothing is ever guaranteed in business. And then it says Esau despised his birthright. Remember I said value is perceived. So Jacob says, I value the birthright. Otherwise, he wouldn't have brought it up as a specific item of exchange. But he also knew that I want to get more value than what it's going to cost me. There's nothing wrong with that if value is perceived. So Esau despised or did not value his birthright, but Jacob did, right? So it led me to do a little bit of research, and I got some commentary on this, and I wanted specifically to know when it says that Esau despised his birthright, I wanted to know a little more closely, well, what does the Bible mean when it says despise? So in this definition, Strong's defines it as despise, to disdain. It's something contemptible. Think to scorn, a vile person. So the commentary is, so Esau despised his birthright. This clause, which concludes the episode, is a summary statement which reveals the underlying significance of Esau's actions. To despise means to treat something as worthless or with contempt. Esau's willingness to sell his birthright was evidence that he considered it to be unimportant. Now, I would add, he considered it to be unimportant in the moment. But I think later he would come to regret, or there would be consequences to this lack of wisdom. And we all know that in business, you have to think a little bit more beyond the moment in order to make something that's going to be a win-win scenario. But nevertheless, value is perceived. So you say, James, how is this going to help me get through the eye of the needle? Well, if I talk about foundations of building trust in business, building trust in relationships, finding your sense of humility that you have nothing to prove, nothing to hide, and nothing to lose, in the sense of, I'm confident in who I am and where I am in my faith life. I can stand toe to toe with the best of them and not be threatened. And I don't have to be threatened. I don't have to be, like there are some people in business that are worth much more than me in the sense of net worth. They'll say bravado is a necessary top thing. You have to have bombastic confidence. No, confidence I understand. Courage I understand better. But wisdom is priceless. So understanding people is going to be a primary value or skill in order to understand how to get through the eye of the needle. I hope this kind of gives you a little bit of insight today. I hope it brings you a little bit of peace. If you're in business and you feel conflicted sometimes in what you believe as to how you have to behave, I want this series to really encourage you. So check out the links down below. That's the Endeavour Network channel. I'm sort of revitalizing some videos that I produced a few years back. So I hope that you will take the time to watch them and maybe get something out of it, and send me a comment or send me a note via the email address here at this channel. And I'd love to engage. All right. Have a great day.